Today, we're going to be breaking down in detail the current best JAX player in the world at the moment. Now, I'm not going to try to pronounce his full name, but Cry is currently the rank 1 and rank 3 JAX player out of all servers. Therefore, we're going to be learning everything that he does better than the rest, including his runes, itemization, and of course that juicy gameplay. But for all my item lovers out there especially, you are in for a treat because this man loves to cook. So let's get straight to it. First up, we have the rune pages, and there are three main ones he chooses between depending on the matchup. Now, of course, Grasp is always the standard option into tanks or range, but there is some exceptions. If he's playing up against a tank with hypermobility and disengage like Cassante, he will run Grasp, but if he versus a champion that came out way before Cassante and doesn't have that level of OP abilities like a Scion, he would run Lethal Tempo. But we'll get started with Grasp. So hypermobility tanks like Cassante or pretty much champs with disengage like Poppy as well, he will run Grasp, and into tanks, he will go Sorcery Secondary. So he'll go Mana Flow Band with Transcendence and Tenacity as his rune. But when he plays into range matchups like Jace or like Akali, yes, Akali top's pretty much a range champ, he'll also run Grasp, but with Inspiration as a secondary, Cosmic Insight, and Cashback. Now, not only does that give you better scaling, but Cosmic Insight's really good into range because you can trade Flash for Flash with them, and then you have a 1 minute timer where you have that Flash advantage. Now, with this page, he will just run flat HP as standard, as you don't really need that tenacity. Now, with the Lethal Tempo page, he will run this into volatile bruiser matchups, such as Darius, Olaf, or Kled, where you're pretty much forced to extend a trade into them. But he'll also run it into tanks that don't have disengage, like we mentioned before, so champions like Dr. Mundo or Scion. The main differences here is into the tanks, he will run Cut Down with Mana Flow Band and Transcendence. However, into the bruisers, he'll normally go Coup de Grace or Last Stand. So Coup de Grace into Darius, who's just going to execute him if he's low HP, or like a Garen, and then Last Stand if they don't really have that level of execute. And then Inspirational and secondaries into these volatile bruiser matchups, usually Triple Tonic. Again, volatile, you need that level 6 all-in spike, and just running with the free boots there. And for our final page, we have Storm Raider Surge. Now, I'll be completely honest, initially I thought this page would be completely dogshit, but after watching it in action, I definitely see the value in certain matchups. Now, in my opinion, the best matchups to run it into are champions like Rumble, Aatrox, or Nah. And the common theme here is these champions have very strong retrades onto you. So if you try to beat up the Rumble too much, even with Lethal Tempo, he is just going to win. The champion's too broken. But with Aatrox and Nah, their retrade is very, very strong. If you get full comboed by Aatrox or chased down the lane by Nah, you will lose that trade in the end, even if initially it worked out pretty well. But Storm Surge completely fixes this problem as long as you're ending your trade in CC, so running away while they're stunned and abusing that extra movement speed. Very, very nice for the trade patterns in this lane. Now, the page is always going to be the same. Mana Flow, Transcendent, Scorch, with Triple Tonic and Cozy as your secondaries, of course, wanting to abuse the Flash advantage if you trade Flash for Flash with Cosmic, and that Triple Tonic level 6 all in. Now, usually you will run Ignite with this page as well, but into the range matchups like Nah, you can just run TP as that lane's not as volatile as Aatrox or Rumble. Moving on to everyone's favorite part of any guide, the item build. Now, do your best not to get scared away when you see the starting items, because as you can see, he builds 4 out of 5 of them depending on his matchup. But I will do my best to break down when you build each one. So starting with Doran's Shield, this one's the most self-explanatory. You build it into range champions that consistently poke you down. So champions like Jace or Anivia or Teemo, you're going to be running this one pretty much every time. And when you run Grasp, you do run this in most matchups. Now with Doran's Blade, you run it into lethal tempo tank matchups. So champions like Scion or Dr. Mundo, you don't really need Doran's Shield because you're going to be able to get the early prio, the early base off. The Doran Blade makes a lot more sense. Now, with Doran's Helm, there are 2 categories for matchups where this is good. Champions like Shen, who do a lot of magic and physical damage, so you get a bunch of bonus from the armor and MR and the big chunk of HP, or champions like Rumble. Now, even though Rumble, in my opinion, is a range champion, Rumble's trade pattern doesn't really poke you down like a little rat like Teemo and get you lower and lower. He mainly just does 400 damage at level 3 with Q for no reason. He's more so doing bigger trades, right? It's not consistent short trading, it's a big trade pattern. So having the extra combat power from Doran's Helm can allow you to trade early game, get the first recall off, compared to Doran's Shield, which doesn't really feel great into Rumble, as his short trading, if you want to call it that, just does so much damage. You mainly need the MR from Doran's Helm there. Now with Doran's Bow, this is my new favorite item to build into volatile matchups. So if you run this with Lethal Tempo and Ignite, into champions like Olaf or champions like Darius or Yorick or Alawi, and you play super volatile level 1 to 3, that's gives you so much combat power, getting the double pots, the extra attack speed, you can really play for early solo kills in these matchups. And I really realized when I was watching him play, because I played the Darius matchup the week before with Doran's Blade, and I just felt I was lacking a bit of combat power, but Doran's Bow really fixes this problem, so it's amazing into these volatile matchups. When combined with LT and Ignite, it can definitely get for you a lot of early solo kills. Now, for the starting items, of course, Trinity Force is the standard one core that you build in the majority of your games. If you ever don't know what to build, just default to this one, it is the best. Now, with Dusk and Dawn, this is usually built when he plays against champions like Kennen or champions like Quinn, where you can't really get extended trades, you can't really utilize the sticking and auto attack power of Triforce, so just Dusk and Dawn, pure short trading and team fighting makes a lot more sense there. Now, with Blade of the Ruined King, he will build this into certain matchups like Dr. Mundo, where he needs that extra early game combat power, and even sometimes into Rumble, he will build this before his Triforce, again for that added combat power. The champion can just beat you even if you have Triforce, it's not fair, they need as much 1v1 duel potential as possible. But before he builds Bork into champs like Rumble, he will go Hexdrinker as his first item. Pretty much Rumble is the only champion he will go Hexdrinker into, but of course if you verse a triple AP comp, you can also do that as well. Now for the boots, you don't need to overthink it. Merc treads if they have CC, tabbies if they have multiple auto-attacking AD champs, and cooldown boots are kind of the throwaway if you don't need anything else. But the number one rule here is we never ego Merc treads. If we need tenacity, doesn't matter what our line opponent is, we need to go Merc treads. Now moving down to the second item, so of course Sundered Sky. This is going to be your default, regardless of if you in Triforce first or Dusk and Dawn first. This is a really good 2-core. Now for Stride Breaker, this is usually in lethal tempo games when you need the extra sticking power. So if they have a heavy range comp, a bunch of mobility, especially 1v1 like a Narm, Stride Breaker makes the most sense there. And for Rift Maker, this is usually just with Dusk and Dawn, so Dusk into Rift Maker as your 2-core for a more full AP JAX build. Now down for the Bork build, Bork is pretty rare as a second item, but he does build in games where he just needs the 1v1 combat power to win lane. So for example, if you got behind maybe versus like an Olaf or a Yark or something, and Bork's going to be the reason you win that 1v1, you can definitely build it, but I would stay away from it very much. I'd only build it into champs like Mundo. I don't think it's good to build too often. Now for Koenig Rukin, pretty rare again into that heavy AP comp. You can just go Triforce or even Dusk and Dawn, and then Koenig Rukin as your second item. Again, they need to have multiple AP threats for this one to be worth it. Now, even though you do have quite a lot of options here, when he gets to his third and fourth item, he does keep it pretty simple. Usually Zhonya's as his third item in the majority of his games, but in certain games where he has lethal tempo, he can go Frozen Heart or Koenig Rukin if he desperately needs MR. Now, for the rest of the build, of course, Zhonya's, Death Stance, or Riftmaker, even Koenig Rukin sometimes, is usually going to be one of these 4 items. But to make this all more simple for everyone, I'm just going to showcase some full build examples here. So as you can see, nothing too crazy, apart from the starting items that you need to know about depending on your matchups. You can just keep it simple. Triforce, Sunny Sky, Zhonya's into tank is never going to do you wrong. Same with Dusk and Dawn, Riftmaker, Zhonya's into tank. You can see the very standard JAX builds at the moment. I've also shown some exceptions here when you go Hexdrinker, when you go Bork, when you go Stride Breaker second, but you can see usually the 6-item build is pretty consistent regardless of what he builds 1 to 2. Moving on to Summoner spells. Now, there's no need to worry here, he does keep it pretty standard, TP and Flash in the majority of his matchups, but he will run Ignite Flash into certain volatile lanes. So chambers like Darius, Olaf, or Aatrox, Ignite definitely makes the most sense, but in certain range matchups like Gangplank or Vayne, where you're forced to make it volatile before they poke you out, he also likes to run Ignite. But there is a rule of thumb to follow. You cannot run Ignite with Grasp. I think that's pretty terrible. He doesn't really do it as well. So you do just run Ignite with Lethal Tempo or Storm Surge, and if you run Grasp, just always go Teleport. Moving on to some laney phase examples, and starting with a complete banger, you can see he's running the Doran's Bow Lethal Tempo Ignite tech into one of the best Darius one-tricks in Korea. So usually Darius does get priority in this matchup, with Q start and just forcing it onto the wave, as you can see like he's doing now. So you can see how JAX player is trying to close the gap. So Darius wants to keep distance and just keep poking JAX down with Qs. And if JAX does a bad E, Darius can pop Ghost and run him down. You can see that Darius is doing movement trying to bait JAX's E here, but our JAX of course is not taking the bait. So the rule of thumb here, we don't need it either first auto attack they send. That's why you let that guy auto him once to make sure his E is fully inside before he commits it. You can see auto E, ending the trade in CC, clicking away straight away when they're stunned, because if you get that one greedy little auto that all my students do, they can ghost you or retrade onto you. You can see chilling now, my E's on cooldown. He's trying to bait the Q. He's not just sitting under tower, sitting on his hands. Right, he's trying to click in the Q range, clicking out, trying to bait Darius to use Q permanently, and it actually pays off there, even making him take a tower shot. So a lot of the time when you watch high elo players play, they're doing little micro movements that people don't really register. But here, the Darius is not a bad player who took a tower shot, like he's an iron. The JAX is kind of spacing him really well, just perfectly out of the Q range, and that kind of is what led him to take that tower shot. You can see trying to wait for his level 2 here, playing it slow, waits for his 2. And here we go. Okay, level 2, we're going to take the trade. So in this matchup, rock, paper, scissors. Your Q beats Darius' Q, right? So you always want to Q the Q, and you see it goes for the E, and flash follow. So making it super volatile, pops the Darius Ghost to him, sticks onto him, pops the Ignite. And this is a really good habit to get into, something that I've been implementing in my own gameplay recently. Utilizing summoner spells, not just for the kill. Yes, he probably thought he would kill him there, but even though he used flash and didn't kill him, look how screwed this Darius player is now. He's kind of 1 HP, floating around, wave in an awkward position, and JAX can just completely zone him off the wave here, so Darius can't really play the game at all. The Q auto E, and just zoning this Darius player completely off the wave. And keep in mind, again, this is one of the best Darius players in Korea, but utilizing the Doran's bow tick and knowing his time is when to play aggressive, he's completely checkmated him. So skip it a little bit. Now, one thing I like that he did here, I actually really like it, is that he let the wave crash. A lot of people are really hooked on the idea of like perma-freezing. The problem with that is he's going to use HP and mana to freeze this, probably mana with the E, right? Use mana to block him and HP him. And then when Darius comes back, Darius will have a temporary wave advantage because of the freeze. But Darius is not a weakling. He's not a Nessus. He's not a Mundo. So in my opinion here, it's better to let the wave crash like Cry did, and then look to attack the Darius on the bounce back when you have the minion and XP advantage, like we see here. To level 4, and you can see clicks in, and then goes for the trade here, and ends the trade in CC. So even with this tick, you can't just 100 to 0 him, especially when your Ignite's down. You need to butter him up a little bit by ending a trade in CC, like you did there. And then you want to be looking to punish the Darius E cooldown if you can. But of course, this good Darius player is not going to give it to us. So skip it a little bit, crash wave base, and comes back. So here he ended up buying Sheen. So even with lethal tempo, keep that in mind. You still want to get Sheen as your first item, building towards Triforce. There we go, W to break the bone plating. Always try to do that W bonus range. Try to utilize that to break bone plating whenever you can. And Q versus Q. So again, he didn't Q in here because Darius isn't really butted up yet. We don't have Ignite available. This is not a favorable all-in. It seems like it because you're level 5, but Darius will get level 5 pretty soon. There's a lot of high-level stuff here. But yeah, just getting the bone plating and dodging Q of Q. Waiting for his Ignite, waiting for the all-in timer. But here, Darius used E at the wrong time. So he goes for the all-in, and then Qs the Q yet again. So even though Zinzal's here, JAX would 100% won this. He just gave it to his jungler. He's a nice guy. Don't try that at home. We hate junglers. But yeah, so pretty much, he spaced him out. Darius used Eam, and then he knows, okay, but Darius can't E my Eam. I win this all-in. So pops the E early, holds his Q, waiting for the Darius Q. The Q follow, clicks in, and then nice, clean, potential solo kill here. So really, really good position. So base, come back to lane, and here we go. The Ignite's back up. So I really like as well that he played around Ignite. Playing around cooldowns is a pretty intuitive part of top lane, but I still think people don't play around their Ignite cooldown as well as they could. So here he went tier 1 boots, if you're curious to buy him. So here he goes, W to get the bone plating, Q the Q, rock, paper, scissors, and here we go. Pops the E and clicks to the side. So this is really high level movement here. When you use E, Darius will always E, right? Again, rock, paper, scissors, gonna butcher that analogy, use it to death there. Darius should always E the JAX E. So he knows, okay, this guy's gonna E me. Let me press my E and click to the side. He's able to completely space out the Darius E here. Hits him with the E, and then lethal tempo, ignite, pops the ulti, and of course, clean kill. Nice domination here. So definitely you can see the value of Doran's bow, but of course, just the high-level trading patterns this JAX player has been showing us. Next, we have the Fiora matchup, and for this one, he went for the standard Grasp and TP page. This has always been a lane where I've been torn between Lethal Tempo Ignite or Grasp TP, and what I've realized from versing the best Fiora players is you just need Grasp and TP because this is pretty much a range champion in the JAX matchup. It's constantly spacing you with max range Qs just like that. So Grasp TP makes a lot more sense here. So you can see, smashing the wave level 1, the number 1 rule in this matchup by far is you cannot use your E level 1 versus a good Fiora. If you use your E, he will completely make your life miserable. While your E's down, she can just perma Q auto you off cooldown, so you need your E up until level 2. You can see, he knows this Fiora is a bit of a mosquito, she's going to poke me down, but I refuse to use my E. So just getting poked down in peace with the D shield with the second wind, and now I'm level 2, I can actually close the gap, and guarantee hit my E there. Again, ending that trade in CC. Really important JAX habit. So, 2 most important things in this matchup, get priority or your Nexus explodes, hold your E until level 2, or again, your Nexus is gone. But if it's a bad Fiora that tries to auto-attack you with Q on cooldown, of course you could probably use your E in lower elo brackets. So you can see, utilizing our Spirit Bomb tick where you Q somebody auto and use that minion aggro to charge up your E, and then use your E to chunk the wave. Even if your E misses, you're still going to get the damage. So the reason he missed intentionally is he didn't want to get his E parried. The good Fioras will use W at the perfect timing, where the millisecond your E times out is when her parry stops, right? Which means you can always kind of hit the parry on the stun if you use your E late. But he wants to use his E late to charge up the minion aggro, 5 out of 5, and chunk the wave. So that's what he does here, clicks away to not get parried, but still gets the bonus of that minion damage. And you can see just playing mainly for wave. This matchup gets a lot better for JAX, level 6 onwards. You don't need to be too horny 1 to 5. Push the wave in, hold your E, and then cleanly crash wave 3. So I would say that was a pretty beautiful 1 to 3. So base, come back to lane, and time to play. So level 3 is also pretty good. Not as good as 6, but you can see he's got that item advantage. He definitely wants to utilize it. He goes in, he uses the E. So best time to E is when Fiora's Q is on cooldown. So you can see here, but he knows, okay, she's going to parry my stun. He's held her W for the timer. Let me Q away. So leads with movement, dodges the parry with Q. Because level 3 versus 4 definitely doesn't want to take that all in. So again, lets the wave crash. I love that he's not addicted to freezing every single wave I see some players do, losing all his HP and his mana. Better just to let the wave crash and then play off your bounce back when you have the wave and XP advantage. The time to freeze, if you're curious why I keep harping on it, is when you have a clear power advantage. Darius versus JAX, JAX versus Fiora, there's no clear power advantage. So you can't really just freeze and kill them unless they're like 1 HP or something crazy like that. You got a bit of a CS cap there, and you can see just slowly pushing it up. So slow push into hard push into tower demolish time. So boom, clicks away, goes around the back to get the demolish proc, and pulls up this wave. So goes for the proxy wave, and base. Hero stops him, but he's got TP still. So the good thing about 3-wave crash basing is you can hold TP for the next sequence here, because a lot of Fioras take PTA Ignite. This one doesn't, but it's still a really good habit to have. So TP's in, EW click away, nice short trades. You can see really consistent. When his opponent's high HP, he keeps ending the trade in CC, disengaging with movement or with Q while they're still stunned. But when they finally get low, then he commits. So good trade there, trying to get his level 6. And here we go. Like I mentioned, level 6 in this matchup is the time to shine. Nice clean kill. So let's see the pattern. I know I'm going to get 6 during this timer. Here we go. Auto QE. Waits for the stun before committing W because you really don't want to get your W parried in this matchup. So it's fine to hold W until her parry's down. But while she's stunned, hits him with the RW for that nice clean execute there. Really, really good stuff. So I would say definitely the 1 to 3 was beautifully executed, and he never got too hungry. He didn't try to force a freeze for no reason. He didn't force an extended trade when they're both healthy. He chipped away at her, ended trades in CC, and waited for the clear, strong timing in this matchup, level 6, and then he played for that kill. But in case you're curious how he snowballs his lead even more, we'll watch a little bit more of this matchup. So come straight back to lane, and of course he's going to be looking to play very aggressive with that item advantage and the level 6 spike. So Fiora Q's on cooldown is the main timer to go. That's the main time where you can punish Fiora when that Q is down. So you can see when he jumps onto him, he's clicking up. This is really, really common in this JAX matchup to try and dodge the parry there. Now, in my opinion, he should have clicked up a bit earlier. I don't like that he greeted an auto. He should have just clicked up straight away to try dodge parry him. But again, he's still playing really well. So chunks her down. Goes for the another Sheen proc with Grasp if she shows, but doesn't want to chase her into the bush because she has ulti and he doesn't. He gets level 7, and then boom, QW, click away. Nice clean short trade. Tries to stop the base. Nice. Really good. Put as much pressure as possible. When your opponent's in a position where they desperately need to base, you should do anything you can without dying to stop them from recalling, just like he did there. Because if she based and came back full HP, even though she'd lose a plate in most of this cannon wave, she'd then be full HP and able to play the game. But now she's stuck under tower. He can eat the fruit, come back, and make her life completely miserable here. Really, really good. So again, the Q's down, goes for the W, QE, ulti, done, and just pushes in the wave. Again, you can use ulti, you can use a summon spell for a favorable trade. You don't need to use that only for a kill. The pushes in this wave, and now Fiora has to choose, do I stay him or give him all of this farm and XP advantage? So she's sort of floating around, waiting for her parry before she walks up, trying to leech the melee XP. Really, really good. So Zoe sees, okay, top checkmated, let me move in, but doesn't need you, boom, W. So if she parried this, he'll just Q away. Same pattern, right? He's just fishing here. Boom, W of Sheen proc and Grasp, million damage, nice clean kill, and now, of course, the lane is completely over. Now, at this point, we're shown a lethal tempo and a grass matchup, so of course it's time for Storm Ray to Surge. So playing up against an Aatrox, you can see he's run with Surge and Ignite, and the main two reference points for this matchup, you want to get priority no matter what, and you need to make it as volatile as possible and try gain that lead 1 to 5, because level 5 to 9 starts to get really hard for JAX. You can see level 1, he's not playing too volatile and doesn't want to disrupt the wave, because you do want to go for a wave 3 crash. But now that Aatrox Q's on cooldown, he's going to go for the trade. And one thing I like here, you can see, he knows up against a high rank player, Aatrox is baiting the auto, and I'm baiting the E, right? So he's faking giving Aatrox auto, and Aatrox is faking, baiting the E here. So they're both sort of tricking each other, but then he just fully commits it because Aatrox stopped moving. They made a spacing error. So auto E, click away. Our favorite trade in the game, ending that trade in CC. So comes back here, playing as so. You can see he really doesn't want to disrupt the wave. Just try and do slightly more damage than the Aatrox. So we get level 2 first, but or around the same time, but we don't push too quickly because wave 2 crashing is very, very awkward on JAX. So level 2, Q auto, auto E, one more auto, and disengage. Now, walks in the bush to dry drop minion aggro, but Aatrox probably wanted it, and then you can see comes back in for the auto. Look, even there, he fake autoed the minion, because in a high rank top lane, auto attack cooldowns are played around quite heavily, right? People auto you when your auto's on cooldown. So he pretends to auto this minion, but then clicks off, and its auto still up to hit the Aatrox there with. Really, really nice. Dodges Q1, tanks Q2, and then after Q3 should Q in. Yep, perfect. Great trade pattern. Wanting to make it volatile. This slows down this push even more, and hoping to use that level 3. But of course, Aatrox knows what level 3 does, so he is respecting. We'll speed up here a little bit. The wave 4 coming in, you can see hunting for a W. Try to get a WQ combo, which is W, someone as you Q away, it will cancel the W animation, but Aatrox did space it quite well. So gets the W there, takes off the bone plating. Really high awareness as well on bone plating. Super important. Every single player you play against as JAX is probably going to take bone plating. So if you can chip away at it with W, break the bone plating before committing Q or E, really, really impactful. You can see, trying to get his level 4 as quickly as he can. Gets his level 4, Q's away here. And now his wave got a little bit stuck. So in my opinion, his wave control could have been better. I don't like that he greeted for a wave 4. I think just a clean wave 3 crash would have been way more consistent, but he does pull it back. So you can see, wave bounces back out. And now looking for a trade. If you walk up, I'm going to Q onto you, of course, right? So the wave's coming back to him. So if they both base him, going to benefit JAX way more. Q auto W, holds the E, because he knows Aatrox has E, Aatrox has W. If I get my E spaced, it is going to be a losing trade. There we go. He's going to be playing for this kill, of course, very, very shortly. Q auto WE, ignite, and storm surge away. Burn him out with the ignite. So nice clean kill there. Really, really good in terms of trade patterns. The only thing I'd like him to change would be the wave control for the first 4 waves. Other than that, look really, really good. It comes back to lane here. Of course, lets the wave come back in. You can see he trimmed it. So as a general rule for trimming the wave, you want to keep around 4 or 5 extra minutes, between 3 and 5, kind of the sweet spot. The more you have, the longer you can freeze it for, but of course, the harder it is to hold. So 4 is normally the average. So he keeps 3 here. He doesn't want to give Aatrox that wave advantage. There's 2 extra minutes. So boom, Q auto W, Storm Surge out of the Aatrox W, and using that level 6 all in. You can see he's running past him. He's got triple tonic as well, like we mentioned. So pops the level 6, pops the triple tonic, and clicking through him. Leading with movement. And one thing I like here, he flashed first, Q second. That's my favorite way to do it as well, because Q has longer range than flash, and it's point click, so it's easier to stick onto them. So here, even those Qs up in like a second here, he just flash Ws, sticks onto them, always walking between. There's something I always have my new JAX students practice, autoing between moving. It's really hard on JAX compared to other champs because your attack speed changes every auto. So he's doing it very, very well here. Of course, holds the Q for the final kill. Of course, this point matchup's over. I would just say, apart from the wave 3 versus wave 4 thing, that might just be a disagreement here. I think the trade patterns have been extremely on point in this matchup. Now, to finish up, we're going to be going through a full game example to see exactly how he translates his aggressive laning playstyle into winning in the mid game. So we can see Doran's Blade start with the classic lethal tempo, cut down, Cozzy, and cashback, so it makes a lot of sense in this matchup. Don't really need cookies or triple tonic. Now, you can see being quite gentle with the wave. JAX typically doesn't like wave 2 crashing, The exception being is if somebody like a Nasus or Herrick walks up and you beat the shit out of them, that means you probably have to go for a wave 2 crash, but it's worth it. But Mundo's probably not going to give you that long trade because he's got the classic Q and walk away, so it's better just to slow it down and go for a wave 3 crash, exactly like he's doing here. So you can see, slowly pushing this wave in. And when he gets to wave 3, it's time to make it volatile. So I'm hoping to see him Q on, absorb that minion aggro, and push it in just like that. So you can see that's the JAX special, using your E like a spirit bomb, absorbing the minion aggro to make it stronger, and chunking him in the entire wave. Really helping you get that wave 3 under tower. So clean 1 to 3, 19 out of 19 CS as well, which you should be aiming to get versus Mundo, versus Sion, versus those types of champions. Really important to play for a good farm. Whereas when you verse like an Ignite Fiora or Riven, you have to put a lot more mental stack on the trading there. PNC goes for the plate, and then unfortunately gets ganked, so couldn't go for this dive. So flashes the wall, stuns the Rek'Sai, ward jump. So already being impactful, already stopped the Rek'Sai. So in terms of overall game plan, wave 3 crash with perfect CS and playing for the tower plate, spot on. The only thing is probably missing would be a ward and Tribush level 1 or level 2, if he's planning to play that aggressive. But I've still a good start to the game. So that's the wave crash. Like we mentioned, doesn't like to over freeze and sacrifice HP and mana just to hold a freeze where Mundo could TP back anyway. So he just lets it crash so he can stay full HP, full mana, and play aggressive on his bounce back. So just last hitting, and of course Mundo, if you touch the wave, I'm going to all-in you with lethal tempo. So Mundo has to chill back and Q farm. Nothing crazy there. So crashes the wave. Hog pretending to ward them, but decides not to place his ward yet because he saw Rek'Sai bottom. So if he warded, and it takes Rek'Sai, 30 seconds to fight in base, if you could think about it in theory, you waste 30 seconds of ward timer. Just holding it for when in a situation where he doesn't really know where Rek'Sai is exactly. The slow push this wave. You can see stacking waves at a time. So typically versus tanks, we don't really like freeze and try run them down the lane, especially on like Mundo. It's more about stacking multiple waves at a time, slow pushing, and if they ever walk up and auto attack a minion, you punish. As long as he only Q farms and never gets to auto without getting punished like that, you are going to gain a massive CS advantage. So if we check his CS after this wave, you will be very, very surprised. 52 to 25. He's missed very, very few, and they may seem like Korean advice, just don't miss CS. But if you verse a tank, a non-interactive tank like a Mundo, like a Sion, goes for the dive here, and solo kill. You should play more so for that perfect farm. So you can see he gets the plate first, and then leads with ulti. You always want ulti first to get resistances, more armor, less damage from the tower, and from their combo, and of course get the 2-stack passive. So E, auto WEQ, and finishes up the kill. So Mundo loses a bunch of XP, and the wave is coming back to JAX. So it goes for Vamp. So like we mentioned, Bork Rush into champs like Mundo can be very, very good. And again, lets the wave crash. Yep. Actually, this time he decides to pull it. So if I were to think about why he pulled this wave, if we put it on his vision, my reasoning would be, because right now, Mundo is roaming and he can't follow, right? His team is having action mid that he can't follow. He can't drop this wave. So if he lets it crash, then Mundo loses nothing. So he's freezing to make Mundo choose. Either you have to come deal with this, or you can roam and fight my team. So he pulls the freeze to make Mundo lose stuff here. You can see he's losing a bunch of CS already from this roam. Loses basically the majority of this cannon wave. So it's to make him make that choice there. Goes on to him, extended trade. Towards the bush. And now again, the slow pushing is very, very gentle. Trimming the wave a little bit. Remember, 3 to 5 minions is what you want to keep. And hunting for the Mundo. Roams down, kills the Anivia. This guy does roam quite often as well. Something to keep in mind from, I watched pretty much all his recent games. He does enjoy that heavy roam play style. So you can see as well, fogging down for the Rek'Sai, but wasn't really needed. The slow push into hard push. Really good understanding of that. Something that's underrated is somebody who's very good at, this is my slow push. I can slow push this one I have to hard push. The reason he has to hard push this wave, the wave's so big, right? Double stack cannon, it's pretty close to tower. So if he slow pushes it, it's probably going to end up being stuck here. So if he hard pushes it, he has a big ass wave to use to hit a tower plate. And then the wave, because he hard pushed correctly, this is a really underrated point as well. Because he hard pushed correctly, the wave bounces back to the middle here, which means Mundo again cannot auto-attack a minion. He can only farm with Q. As I said that he got away with an auto, but in theory. If you leave the tower range, Q. Auto WE, E hits the whole wave, helping me with the hard push. So he has that pattern nailed. And again, every time he hard pushes well, the wave bounces back to the middle. The only reason he's hard pushing now is because Mundo desperately wants to recall. He's 600 HP, so he's pushing to prevent the recall. He's making him stop base sale. Really important. When your opponent desperately wants to recall, your top priority is stopping them. Means even the Mundo stopped him there. So both sides understand that. So here on his way just back to lane, the reason he based there, even though, like I just mentioned, Mundo wanted to base, because he had his Blade of the Ruin King down. So he got his Bork Spike, and Mundo was having TP come up surely, so he wouldn't have been able to keep him trapped anyway. So I'm going to check on objective timers as we approach the mid game here. The push in the wave. And Mundo's trying to block the wave so that he can't hit the tower. A lot of high rank players will do that. So he makes him pay for it. Pretty much when you do this, the counterplay, if they block your wave like this, is just to chunk them. Seems pretty straightforward, but I've been asked that question quite a few times. So if they try to block the wave, you poke them, and the timing is, you want to hit them with W just as the tower shoots. So just as the tower shoots, it's on cooldown. Since he right now, there's no way the tower can shoot him. So he can auto W freely. This is a bad time to W. But because he queued away, the tower had no chance to shoot him there. Like now would be a good time, for example. Now would be, yeah, just for example, if Mundo was giving it to you. So just keep sending the wave to lifesteal back up to full. And tower time. Tower plate time. And goes for the dive. This was the first major mistake of the game here. Thinking he could just burst him through. But without healing cut, it is pretty, yeah, tough to do so. Barely doesn't get the kill. So base, come back to lane. We will skip ahead a bit. So he actually ends up getting the tilt healing cut by him. Which is fine. Normally Vis champs that have healing, but not really till later on, like Mundo, like Aatrox, you go healing cut after your first item. But versus like Warwick or Zac, where their whole kit is just healing, you can get it before your first item. You get it on your first buy even. So now he knows Mundo no ulti. Time to dive. So waits for Z. Auto WE, Q, auto E. Nice clean kill, and flashes out last second. So really, really big advantage here, right? 120 CS, so 40 CS advantage, even after that random int. It probably would have been bigger if he didn't do that. Building towards his Dusk and Dawn he went this game. Not Trinity. I was quite surprised to see Dusk and Dawn this game. Because he has AP jungle mid. In my opinion, Triforce would be a little bit better with this type of comp. But it's quite good for the Mundo matchup, having all that extra healing on hit. This guy cares a lot about the 1v1, as we see from his various runes and itemization. Okay, so at this point, game plan should just be we want to play for the tower, but with Rek'Sai hunting, it does make it a bit tricky. I'll skip through. Nukes the wave, and tower time. Okay, so now we've got our lead time to spread that power across the map. So basing here, goes blasting one and TP straight away. So we'll look at this play as he TPs. He's watching this as he recalls, 100%. He sees Anivia's playing quite aggressive. She's ghosting in, she's flashed in. Who knows this is a really good fight to commit to. So TP's in. Comes up. Kills Camille. And push out the wave. Straight back to the top. So dragon up in a minute. Very, very likely we have to make the choice, right? Either I'm fighting this dragon or I'm playing for the tower. So in this situation, you can see he adapts really well when his opponent leaves. So here, he saw Mundo TPing on this timer. So he decided to stay. He wanted to base for Dusk and Dawn, but he saw Mundo TPM, so he needs to make him pay for it, of course. So he goes for the full tower here. Ends up dying for it. So a little bit greedy. Would have been better just to kill 4 plates. You know, it's not last season anymore. The tier 2 is not like this big juice. As long as you get most of the plates, you're happy. But it's fine. He's got 2 items. He's got Merc Treads. He's in a very, very good position. It goes mid out of base. So this is where I like to call about Baron intensity. So Baron's up in 20. So in this situation, instead of going straight to side lane, bottom, he knows, okay, if we can get a pick on this area or help get control of Baron ahead of time, it's really, really impactful. So deploy straight mid, he's able to get a pick onto the Aphelios. 1 shots, and then straight to Baron. You see all in ping on my way. So it's very Korean solo queue, having a high awareness of this, but something you can learn from as well. The team that gets here first has a big advantage. You can see he killed Aphelios, and now they have to fight as 5v4. The Maokai ulti over the wall, jumps the wall to stop Rek'Sai. Maybe do more than stop him. and then beats down the Dr. Mundo. We're playing it slow, hiding in another fight. Remember, JAX team fighting is less about bashing down one guy and more about weaving in and out. You can see. Playing around your cooldowns. Kills the Anivia. So much damage this build, actually. One shots the egg, base, and TP flank. Super proactive. So the thing I like about this mid game is he didn't just only group and he didn't just only split push, right? He pressured side at a time where he didn't really have time to group up for that dragon fight. And Mundo left. But when he has time, when he has a window to roam mid or a window to TP flank, he's taking pretty much every single one. And still maintaining that 10 CS per minute. Almost 10 CS per minute. Pushes in bot wave with Baron, by the way. You want to play 2 lanes usually. So he's doing mid to bot here. Push in bot and flank mid. DNC here. He's not very selfish, right? He actually wants to base here, spend his gold. But he sees the action here. Team's walking up, Maokai ulted, and he cancels his base and ends up rotating here. So ignores the Mundo completely, just goes on Aphelios. Again, ignoring Mundo completely on Rek'Sai, so really good target selection. Kills this guy as well. The mid towers. Tries to get the Nexus tower and base. Ultra aggressive. Thunder Sky 3rd item, by the way, if you're curious. Really good this game to 3 melees that have to dive in to be useful. I love the Sundered Sky and Dusk and Dawn combo as well. So it's pressuring side. He has TP up in 15 seconds. So he knows if any fight happens bottom, I can't be there. So he knows the fight's going to happen soon. If we watch it, you can pretty much read by the body language. Okay, this fight's going to happen. They're not just going to let us siege Inib. Maokai's base ulting. So he bases early. Gets full HP. And then TP's in. Where is it there? A little bit late on the TP, to be honest. But still fine. Kills Anivia. And bot Inib. So it could have been a little bit cleaner. You know, could have based a bit earlier. Could have TP'd a bit earlier. But that's the right idea. My team's sieging bottom. I'm pushing in top away from there. Pulling people away. He made Mundo and Rek'Sai answer him temporarily. And then basing and TPing in for the fight there. The basis for Zhonya's 4th item. It's pretty rare to have a JAX build without Zhonya's 3rd or 4th. Very, very rare. And then again, the Baron intensity. I don't have TP. If I go bottom, there's a chance a team fight happens without me around Baron. So I need to be here. Yes, Cassio has TP. It makes it easier. But even if mid doesn't have TP here, you still need to be on this timer. If you go bottom and the team fight happens, that's the only way we can lose, right? If they kill our team and get Baron. The group's up early, not hitting the Baron, which I like. Playing for the fight. They go on him. JAX is really good at buying time. With ulti tankiness, like he has 300 armor. With Zhonya's, with Sundered Sky, Dusk and Dawn, you can buy a lot of time. Pops the Zhonya's. Boom, gets his triple stolen. Playing it slow. And base. So I wouldn't say he has a low-risk playstyle, but in team fights, he definitely understands his limits extremely well. You can see most of his mistakes was like diving Mundo when you shouldn't, overstaying for tower when Anivia can kill you. But in team fights, he's a really good idea of weaving in now the fight, not trying to... Here is where he just knows I'm so crazy strong, 4-item JAX level 19, and he just really pushes himself here. So it goes in, pops ulti, Rakan in the back pocket, keep fighting, keep rocking Sundered Sky, keep rocking Dusk and Dawn, and game over. So definitely, the way he played the lane, I really liked that. Mundo was playing super safe, just chilling, farming with Cleaver. He built this massive CS gap through his good wave control and trade pens. Every time Mundo tried to farm, he punished it while still getting some roams off as well. And in the mid game, he had a pretty good balance between maintaining good farm in side lane, playing for towers when it was free, but still also always looking proactively for that mid fight, for that TP flank, especially later when Baron was on the table. Alright team, that's it for today. As usual, I hope you gained some value from this video. Now, if there's any champion you'd love to see me cover next, let me know in the comments. I'll see what I can do, and I'll see you for the next video.